I needed a good way to transfer fresh water to my travel trailer while I was boondocking. I got a 45-gallon bladder to put in the back of my truck so I didn't have to fill up my freshwater tank in my trailer while I was driving. I use a 45-gallon bladder, a 3-gallon per minute transfer pump hooked up to the battery of my truck. I got the water bladder on Amazon for about $150. It's held up really well. I put a tarp underneath it to protect it. I sweep out the bed really well, make sure there aren't any foreign objects in there so I don't pop it. It's a lot like a water bed. It's a little bit thicker, but it could be punctured if you weren't careful. So I did 2 successful trips with it, about 10 miles apiece. I went to a state park, filled it up with fresh water in the bed of my truck, came back, transferred it over into my trailer, into a 42-gallon freshwater tank, and everything worked out just fine. I got the hose at a hardware store. It says and is rated for potable water and drinkable water. So I went ahead and went with it. It's a clear plastic tube. I believe mine's like 5/8 in diameter. It had a little bit of taste at first, but I've bleached it and I've ran it through a couple times and cleaned them out, and the taste seems to be, and the smell seems to be pretty much gone. So you might want to be careful when it comes to purchasing these hoses. You could use the blue potable water travel trailer hoses that they sell to properly transfer if you want to do the fittings. I had certain kind of fittings, so I went ahead and just went with it. I think it's going to work out okay for me. Might not be the best thing for you. From the bladder to the pump, I've probably got 5 or 6 feet of hose, and what I'm pulling out now is from the pump to the trailer. I wanted to leave myself enough distance to push that water to my trailer because we boondock, we never know exactly where we're going to be, and I'm only limited in this case by how close I can get the truck to the trailer. Come out of your pump and go into your freshwater inlet in the side of your trailer. That's not the city water connection, that's just the hole that goes straight to your freshwater tank. So be careful when putting it in because the hose is kind of delicate down there. You don't want to jam anything into that. It could be damaged and cause yourself a bigger problem. Take your hoses and run them to where your pump is going to be. I just kind of rough did the math and measured it out, and it worked out for me down to like maybe an inch, so maybe you'll get lucky too. I start at about there on my truck, and then from the pump to the battery in the front of the truck, I had a perfect length here. Here's my pump, about 3 gallons per minute. It's got a pre-filter on it. I suggest keeping it on. There's my clamps that I spliced in to hook up to the truck battery, or you can hook it up to your RV battery if you have 1 or 2 of those. Any 12-volt battery is going to work. These pumps work on 12 volts. I got this pump on Amazon for, gosh, it was really cheap, probably like $50 max. You're going to get a little bit of drippage from these joints. It depends on your inlet and outlet, how you secure it. There were fittings that came with the pump that were screw-on kind of quick fittings that I use, and they leak and drip just a little bit. I used hose clamps and just your standard basic pipe hookup. Here's the bladder on Amazon. Very affordable, 100, 150 bucks. There's an air hole in the top, and the inlet is actually sticking out the bottom under that New World right there. Allows to empty the entire bladder very easily. There's my box of goodies for fresh water, hydrometer, pressure regulator, filters, elbows. Keep stocked up when it comes to different types of water hookups. On this bladder, I actually was able to use a coupling, which I would recommend. Get a coupling like you're seeing right there, that white thing that the hose is sticking in. And I was able to just stick that 5/8 hose in that, and it was perfect and didn't leak. Here's where I placed my pump. 3 gallon. I wouldn't go too high on that 3 gallon per minute. Would not go too high on it. Never over 3 or 4, I would say. The 3 that I have really puts out water at a pretty high rate. You don't want to blast water into your fresh tank inlet. And here's my chuck battery. Positive, negative. Toggle switch in line. Make sure that you listen to your pump when you turn it on. Don't let it run dry for too long. It's okay for just a few seconds, and you'll hear it go through. And that's one reason why I got the clear lines. I can see it move through. And this went fine and went down from the bladder, down to the ground, up to, 2, 3 feet to the inlet.